Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain.
It sounds fake.
What if one of the most talked about royal births wasn't exactly how it was presented? For years, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry described Archie's arrival as a story built on privacy, secrecy, and standing firm against palace pressure. That was the narrative. That was the image. But now, critics are speaking up, loud, confident, and claiming they've got receipts to back their doubts. At the center of the noise is Candace Owens, who has publicly questioned what she calls serious contradictions in Meghan's pregnancy timeline. She points to details in interviews, memoir excerpts, and reported hospital procedures that, in her view, don't line up. Supporters of Meghan and Harry dismiss these claims as speculation. Critics say the gaps deserve answers. Either way, the debate is getting intense. The focus mostly lands on Prince Harry's memoir, where he describes Archie's birth at the Portland Hospital in London as dramatic yet controlled. According to his account, Meghan received 2 epidurals and left the hospital within hours after delivery. On paper, it sounds like a fast-moving, high-end hospital experience, but some medical professionals and commentators online have questioned whether that timeline would be typical. They argue that epidurals involve careful monitoring and that recovery protocols can vary depending on circumstances. Now here's where it gets complicated. Medical experts have publicly stated that switching or adjusting epidural medication can happen in certain cases, but it's not something done casually. Every birth is different. Some are smooth, some move quickly, others require adjustments. Without direct medical records, which remain private, it's impossible for outsiders to confirm the exact sequence of events. That hasn't stopped the online speculation from exploding, though. Then there's the question about press notification. Traditionally, royal births follow a public protocol. In Archie's case, the couple chose a more private route. Supporters say that was their right as new parents protecting their child. Critics argue the changes created confusion and fueled suspicion. When timelines aren't crystal clear, people start connecting dots, sometimes fairly, sometimes not. It's important to separate verified facts from opinion here. There has been no official investigation, no confirmed wrongdoing, and no public evidence proving deception. What exists are conflicting interpretations, commentary from public figures, and intense public curiosity. That's it. Still, when high-profile figures share personal stories, every detail gets magnified. So what does this really mean? For some, it's just another example of how celebrity narratives get polished for public consumption.
It bothers me first because it's a lie. She's not in the hospital trying to induce labor by twerking. The hospital will not give you a bed because you're trying to induce labor. You are not allowed to put up a camera, fixate it, and then both of you start twerking. Because in her mind, she was thinking, I'm gonna release this later in a Netflix doc or release it later to show people how relatable I am. Otherwise, you can have a cute moment with your husband without recording it. Like, why would you record this for any reason? Why would you record this in the hospital?
Why have they simply not made an announcement to the fact that all of this speculation about the children's arrival?
You need proof that I'm authentic? I just dropped myself twerking. I have proven that I am authentic because I twerked with my husband in a room.
So all of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy.
For others, it raises trust issues about transparency. And for many supporters, it's simply a private family moment that never should have been dissected like this in the first place. The truth is, without verified documentation, the claims remain allegations and opinions. But the conversation itself shows how divided public perception has become. One side sees resilience and boundary setting. The other sees inconsistencies that deserve explanation. And in today's media world, once doubt enters the chat, it doesn't leave quietly. Second, critics zero in on the recovery timeline Harry described in his memoir. He wrote that Meghan was home, settled in, and resting with Archie just a couple of hours after leaving the Portland Hospital in central London. Some medical commentators have argued that after labor, especially with pain management like an epidural, mothers are usually monitored longer before discharge. They say checks for the baby, paperwork, and recovery time typically stretch beyond just a quick turnaround. Supporters push back, pointing out that private hospitals sometimes operate differently and that uncomplicated births can lead to earlier releases. Every medical case is unique. Still, skeptics say when you factor in standard newborn evaluations, maternal monitoring, and the drive from central London to Frogmore Cottage in Windsor, the window sounds tight. Not impossible, but tight enough to spark debate. And that's where the questions grow louder. Critics argue the timeline feels rushed and overly polished, like key details were skimmed over. They ask, why describe events in a way that some professionals publicly say doesn't reflect common procedure? If one part sounds off, they wonder what else might be simplified for the sake of storytelling. It becomes less about one hospital visit and more about credibility as a whole. Then attention shifts to how the palace handled the announcement. Traditionally, royal births follow a formal protocol. The monarch is informed, an official notice is displayed, and the press is alerted quickly. When Archie was born, Prince Harry and Meghan chose a more private approach. Buckingham Palace initially told reporters Meghan had gone into labor, only to later confirm Archie had already been born. That sequence alone fueled confusion and media frustration.
This crisis won't die down until the irrefutable truth comes out. Buckingham Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Elizabeth from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out both babies herself.
Meghan later offered different explanations in interviews about why the standard press alert wasn't followed. In one account, she suggested privacy was the priority. In another, she referenced medical circumstances. Critics claim the varying reasons created mixed signals. Supporters argue that new parents under global scrutiny might not explain every detail perfectly in every retelling. Stress, emotion, and hindsight can shift how stories are framed. The core issue isn't just about timing or press calls, it's about perception. When narratives evolve, even slightly, public trust gets tested. Some see natural human inconsistency, others see red flags. No official findings have declared wrongdoing, and no verified evidence proves deception. But in the world of royalty and global headlines, even small gaps can explode into major controversy. And that's why the debate hasn't faded. It's not only about a birth, it's about transparency, tradition, and whether the story the public received matches the reality behind palace doors. Why were there so many different versions floating around? Even seasoned royal reporters admitted they were confused by the shifting timeline. Some journalists were first told Archie had already been born hours earlier. Others were informed Meghan was still in labor at the time of the announcement. Those mixed signals didn't just create awkward headlines, they created doubt. When communication around a royal birth appears inconsistent, critics argue it chips away at the institution's credibility. Palace procedures are usually precise and carefully coordinated. Supporters say miscommunication can happen in high-pressure situations. Skeptics say that level of confusion feels unusual for an operation known for tight control. Either way, the secrecy didn't calm the situation. It intensified public curiosity. That brings the spotlight back to the Portland Hospital in London, the private facility where Archie was born. It's known for high-profile births, strict privacy, and top-tier care. So when Prince Harry described Meghan receiving 2 epidurals during labor, medical commentators began weighing in publicly.
I was instantly enraged from this 10-second clip. It just annoyed me. Take a listen.
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
It doesn't make you sound like a better mom. It makes you sound like really kind of into yourself in a way. He describes her very well, and he does this by taking a look.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous.
An epidural isn't just a quick injection. It involves placing a catheter near the spine to deliver controlled pain relief over time. Once in place, doctors can adjust the dosage without removing and reinserting it. Because of that, some medical professionals questioned why a second epidural would be necessary in the way it was described. They've explained that replacing or reinserting an epidural catheter mid-labor can happen, but it's not routine and usually occurs if the first placement wasn't effective. In those cases, additional monitoring is often required. Critics argue that if such a step occurred, it could influence recovery timelines. Supporters counter that every birth experience is unique, and memoir descriptions don't always capture technical medical nuance. Then comes the recovery debate. Harry's account suggests a relatively quick discharge. Medical guidelines often recommend observation after delivery, especially when anesthesia is involved, to monitor blood pressure, mobility, and overall stability. However, discharge timing can vary depending on hospital policy, patient condition, and whether complications arise. Without access to private medical records, which remain confidential, outside observers can only speculate. Still, critics say when you combine multiple epidurals as described with a same-day departure, it raises eyebrows. They argue the narrative feels simplified. Supporters argue it's unfair to dissect a private medical event without full context. And that tension is what keeps this conversation alive. The larger issue isn't just about one procedure or one hospital stay, it's about trust. When public accounts seem to clash with what some experts describe as typical practice, people start asking bigger questions. Is it imperfect storytelling? Is it memory shaped by emotion? Or is it something more complicated about how royal narratives are presented to the public? There's no confirmed evidence of wrongdoing, no official findings declaring deception, just conflicting interpretations, strong opinions, and a global audience analyzing every word.
It's just so disgusting.
And in the world of royalty, once uncertainty creeps in, it doesn't fade quietly, it echoes. Was this just confusion over medical terms, or was the story framed to sound more dramatic than it really was? That's the question critics keep circling back to, because with Meghan's pregnancy narrative, every small detail that feels off seems to spark a much bigger debate. Childbirth isn't something most people simply bounce back from in a couple of hours. Standard medical practice in many hospitals includes monitoring a new mother's vital signs, checking for excessive bleeding, and running repeated assessments on both mother and baby before discharge. That observation period often lasts around 24 hours in typical cases, though policies can vary depending on the hospital and whether the birth was uncomplicated. Supporters argue private facilities sometimes allow earlier discharge if doctors clear it. Critics say the memoir's timeline still sounds unusually tight. The conversation gets even more intense when preeclampsia is mentioned. Meghan has spoken publicly in the past about experiencing postpartum preeclampsia after a later pregnancy, not during Archie's birth. Medical experts explain that preeclampsia, whether during pregnancy or postpartum, can be serious and requires careful monitoring because it involves elevated blood pressure and potential complications. If such a condition were active at the time of delivery, doctors typically would not rush a discharge. That's standard safety protocol. Now here's where critics raise their eyebrows again. In Harry's memoir, the sequence of events moves quickly: labor, medical interventions, and then home within hours. Some obstetricians who commented publicly have said that while early discharge can happen in smooth deliveries, combining anesthesia, possible complications, and rapid release would depend heavily on individual medical assessments.
People think her kids are fake. They think they're AI.
Without access to private records, no outsider can confirm the specifics. Still, skeptics argue the description feels simplified compared to how childbirth medicine usually works. Others defend the couple, saying memoirs are personal reflections, not clinical reports. Details can blur. Medical terminology can be misunderstood. Emotional experiences can compress time in memory. That doesn't automatically mean deception. But when the public story doesn't neatly align with what some professionals describe as standard practice, the skepticism grows louder. The tension sharpens because Meghan has positioned herself as an advocate for maternal health awareness, speaking about the importance of proper care and monitoring. Critics argue that if the timeline was portrayed as extremely fast, it might unintentionally send the wrong message about recovery expectations. Supporters counter that every woman's birth experience is different and that no two recoveries look the same. So now the debate isn't just about hours on a clock, it's about credibility, messaging, and whether the public narrative matches medical reality. There's no official ruling declaring wrongdoing, no verified evidence proving falsehood, just strong opinions, medical commentary, and a royal story that refuses to stop raising questions. And that's where the tension really spikes. If the birth story doesn't reflect the same medical standards Meghan has publicly championed, critics say it creates a credibility gap. If the timeline is accurate, then some argue it unintentionally clashes with the maternal health message she promotes. If it's not accurate, then people start wondering whether the public received a polished version instead of the full picture. Either way, the questions don't fade, they multiply. Then come the anonymous insider claims. According to reports circulating online, individuals described as former Portland hospital staff have questioned small details from Prince Harry's memoir. One claim focuses on the late-night food story he shared. While the Portland hospital is known for high-end service and quality dining, some alleged insiders have said the account didn't fully match their memory of how meal service typically operates. It's worth noting, though, that these sources remain unnamed and unverified. Another debated detail involves the secret elevator Harry referenced in his book. Longtime observers familiar with the hospital say the facility is designed for privacy, with discreet corridors and controlled access points, but they dispute the idea of a hidden royal-style escape route exactly as described. Critics argue the memoir may have dramatized the setting for storytelling effect. Supporters respond that describing a secure private exit as secret could simply be personal phrasing rather than a literal architectural claim. On their own, these details might seem minor: food orders, elevators, hallway logistics. But critics say when several small elements feel exaggerated or inconsistent, it casts a shadow over the broader narrative. They argue the story begins to look carefully curated rather than purely candid. Supporters counter that memoirs are written to capture emotion and atmosphere, not provide blueprints or catering logs. Candace Owens has publicly highlighted these inconsistencies, suggesting that when small parts of a story appear shaky, it's reasonable for the public to ask bigger questions. She frames it as scrutiny, not accusation. Meanwhile, defenders of Meghan and Harry argue that anonymous sources and online commentary shouldn't outweigh the couple's first-hand account.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly bizarre.
Why would you do that? That's not necessary.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery.
It's like she's playing a human being, like it's a performance.
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
I am sorry, but, and genuinely, I don't even mean to attack her. There was something frustrating about her, and I think he hits the nail on the head.
Without verified documentation, everything remains in the realm of opinion and interpretation. So now the debate isn't just about medical timelines. It's about narrative control. Was the memoir simply written with dramatic flair? Or did selective storytelling create confusion where clarity would have ended speculation? There's no official finding proving fabrication, no confirmed evidence exposing wrongdoing, just a swirl of insider whispers, public commentary, and a royal birth story that continues to spark heated conversation. Whatever the case, every new claim seems to push parts of the public further from trust and closer to suspicion. When small details keep getting debated, 2 epidurals, a same-day discharge, the food orders, the elevator story, critics start asking why those specifics were included in the first place. Were they simple misunderstandings, emotional exaggerations in a memoir, or carefully framed moments meant to make the story feel intense and cinematic? By now, for skeptics, the inconsistencies don't feel random. They feel like they demand an explanation. If the timeline sounds tight, if hospital staff accounts online don't fully match the memoir, and if public statements evolved over time, people naturally ask why. Why risk confusion over something as personal as the birth of your child? Some observers argue it could be about control. In a royal system where every detail is scrutinized, shaping your own version might feel like reclaiming power. Others suggest it may have been about relatability, portraying Meghan as a woman facing pressure, pain, and global attention all at once. And then there are voices who believe the secrecy wasn't centered on Meghan at all, but on protecting the monarchy's image and avoiding institutional friction. Candace Owens has leaned heavily into that mistrust, amplifying doubts already circulating online. Her argument is simple. When small details don't line up, bigger claims deserve scrutiny. Supporters of Meghan and Harry strongly disagree, saying memoirs aren't medical charts and that human memory, especially around emotional events, can compress, dramatize, or simplify moments without malicious intent. Here's the reality. There has been no verified evidence proving deception, no official findings declaring the birth story fabricated. What exists are conflicting interpretations, anonymous commentary, and a memoir written from personal perspective. But perception is powerful. When public trust starts to wobble, even slightly, it becomes hard to steady the ground again. So now the debate isn't just about epidurals or discharge timing, it's about credibility.
It was a dreadful thing to do and actually completely wrong.
Was this a calculated PR strategy, a storytelling choice that backfired, or simply a deeply personal experience retold under global scrutiny? The answers depend largely on who you ask. But one thing is clear. The conversation about transparency, trust, and narrative control isn't fading anytime soon. And there you have it. From memoir contradictions to hospital questions, Meghan's pregnancy story has sparked a wave of debate that refuses to cool off. Some call it messy storytelling. Others believe it feels too polished to be accidental. Either way, the public is left staring at timelines that don't fully line up and details that still feel foggy. Candace Owens didn't create the doubts, but she definitely amplified them. Her commentary tapped into concerns that had already been floating around for years. Supporters say this is all speculation blown out of proportion. Critics say the math doesn't work, the explanations shift, and every new clarification only deepens the mystery. When stories keep evolving, trust starts to wobble. But here's where it gets even more intense. The pregnancy timeline isn't the only chapter under scrutiny. Thomas Markle, Meghan's father, has made public claims about discrepancies involving her age and early life details. These claims remain unverified, and Meghan has not confirmed them. Still, the headlines alone were enough to spark another round of raised eyebrows and online debate. So now the spotlight feels brighter than ever. Are these just misunderstandings magnified by fame, or signs of a narrative carefully managed from day one? That's the question dividing audiences everywhere. If this timeline controversy surprised you, the next layer might shock you even more. Check out our previous deep dive. It connects directly to everything discussed here and breaks down the age-related claims in full detail. Hit play, drop your thoughts in the comments, like, share, and subscribe for more breakdowns. This is Vintage Pulse, and we're keeping our eyes wide open for what comes next.